drive along Highway 13, you're never sure where the turn-in to it is. I mean, he forgets some things that the rest of us consider to be kind of significant. A wonderful character, and I'm glad that you enjoyed Iowa and Artie.
Did they play in West Plains?
We have nationally known people here for you today.
Well, we have nationally known people in West Plains.
That come to West Plains and from West Plains. Well, Katie said that she had an announcement for you, but she's kind of gone away. But I'm sure she'll be back because she's trying to plan your extravaganza for the evening.
She's coming.
Here she comes.
She works here at the clipboard.
Okay.
No, we had them coming, and we were
Which,
before.
last year or 6 years ago? Which?
Last year.
Kate,
Renovated.
it is all yours.
It's better than some of them.
Oh, it's really, they're trying.
We'll be all right.
They're trying.
Watch the steps.
They were West Plains.
I hope someday we can have it every month. Right now, it's a program every month.
Okay, I just have a few real short announcements to make. And for starters, tonight before a little banquet, at 5:45, there's going to be a photographer there to take a group picture. If you'd like to be included, which I wish you would all come, it would be really nice to have everyone's picture. And just come in and we'll just all get in a big group and you'll take a picture. Now there is that.
Or at the dining hall.
That will be at the dining hall. At
5:45.
5:45.
Well, what time?
The banquet's not until 7. The banquet's at 6. But
Okay,
Now, what time are you gonna leave the dawn?
Gentlemen, this is your last day, and in many ways I've saved some of the very best for last because we're indeed honored. You now have traced all the migration routes of all the people at any given time that have flowed through the Ozarks territory. And it seems to me that because music has always been very much an important part of the Ozarks heritage, the fact that music was the major source of entertainment for people, and it was self-done music. It wasn't any of this simply sit back and watch other people perform. Almost everybody in the Ozarks, I think at one time or another, was a musician in one form or another. So I have asked two gentlemen for whom we are very honored to have, Mr. Gordon McCann and Mr. Art Galbraith. Now both of these gentlemen are from Springfield, and they said they are native Green Countyans, which is the county in which Springfield, Missouri is located. I'm somewhat suspect that they're not real Ozarkers, even though they claim to be. Now, Mr. McCann is an interesting individual simply because among his many interests is, it's a blueprinting business, right?
Eating is called that.
Eating.
Yes.
Eating is that source of his income is in the...
Eating is why I have the blueprint company.
Eating is the motivation for your having the blueprint business, and his other avocation, which is that probably, Gordon has worked with the Missouri Arts Council. I think he's probably worked with the Missouri Humanities Council, with all of the historical associations around in the area. And his avocation is collecting the old music and folk stories of the Ozarks Hills. Mr. Galbraith is also a native. Mr. Galbraith was educated at Southwest Missouri State University, was an educator himself, taught. You said you were the principal of a 3-teacher school. Wonder if it was any easier then? No?
No.
Administration is administration.
Still a grand headache.
And then he passed the civil service test and joined the United States Postal Service and was there for, he said, 31 years or so, has been retired. And Art's avocation is keeping Gordon McCann on the straight and narrow.
That's right.
So, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Arthur Galbraith and Gordon McCann. Sit back and enjoy.
Well, I don't know, some of you may want to move up, especially if you're already here, and since there's no sound in here. We don't play quite as loud as the bluegrass groups do, but if you have any problems, just get up and if you walk out, we're used to that too. But I mean, you can walk down front. In fact, when we at music parties, everybody just sits around like this. So if any of you want to come sit on the front row, well, that's fine because that'll be just like being in our kitchen anyway. Because that's the way we're gonna do, just like we have in the music What we're going to do today, rather than just sit here and play tune after tune after tune after tune, is to give you a little narration along with it, to get rid of some of the stereotypes and the myths that you all have, no matter if you live here or not, and to let you know that Orange Blossom Special is not the only fiddle tune that ever existed, and to let you see the variety and the heritage behind this music, because we're continuing a tradition that's been going on for 500-600 years that we know of, since printed music and since they wrote about it, since they started writing about these things. And we're going to give you more or less a chronological sequence on these tunes and everything. It'll be fairly loose, but it'll be a little better than jumbling them all up. Of course, the fiddle or the violin, no difference. Everybody says, what's the difference? It's who's ever playing it is the difference. It's the same instrument exactly. Now, of course, violinists or fiddlers will modify something to maybe get a little different technique of playing the thing, but other than that, it's exactly the same instrument. This is the most used folk instrument in Western civilization. There is no instrument. This is played in all countries in Western civilization. And it's been this way since this particular style emerged about the middle of the 1500s, 16th century. And it's pretty well held that style all the way. That's about the time of Stradivarius and all that. It moved, of course. There were other variations of it already in existence, and there still are. A viola as an example, it's a larger style than that. But it moved, of course, from Europe into the British Isles. And while it was in the British Isles, one thing that happened to enhance its popularity was the fact that Bonnie Prince Charles got kicked out. And Bonnie Prince Charles had loved the bagpipe. The bagpipe had been one of the principal folk instruments of the British Isles and of Europe, for that matter, in those very early years before the fiddle emerged. And when Bonnie Prince Charles was kicked out by the Jacobites, they also outlawed the bagpipes, because that had been more or less his standard of robbery and everything, and of course they kicked him over into France. So bagpipers were put in jail if they played one. Well, the fiddle had been around playing the tunes of the bagpipe for many, many years already, and it can imitate about anything. You can just imitate just about any type of music or anything with a fiddle. So when you hear these old-time tunes and you hear what's this drone sound, which is very indicative of bagpipe music, you'll hear that imitated in the fiddle styles, because it was imitating the folk music of the time. So then, of course, this instrument came across the pond, as the old-timers would say, into this country and down into Missouri with the migration. And it's been here since the 1700s when the French brought it with them up around Potosi and up in that area. And then, of course, it still is the principal instrument in the Ozarks. And the only music this isolated area of the country ever had was fiddle music for the most part, until the pump organs and the pioneers, as they say, came in when transportation got better. But you could sling this in a flour sack over the saddle. That's why it came with it. They couldn't very well do that with a piano or anything. So until transportation got better, this was basically, now the dulcimer, the lap dulcimer, that, I hate to dispel any myths, but that's basically a tourist thing, because we have only record, we don't know of one actual dulcimer player, lap dulcimer player, mountain dulcimer, whatever you want to call it. Lives outside of Lebanon. His grandfather made the one he plays. And that goes with Arkansas too. The people down there have never found anybody. They found a few that were brought into the country, but it never had enough volume. Now the hammer dulcimer was a different matter. The Germans brought the hammer dulcimers with them. You'll still find hammer dulcimers in families that have been in families for 4 and 5 generations. But what we're going to do is start off now, since we've got you here and gave you a brief little introduction to this thing here. We'll start off with the basic tunes to start with were the reels and the hornpipes and the jigs. Now, today there's really very little difference, because what we did, we've taken them all, not necessarily the jigs, but the hornpipes and the reels, we've taken them and we sped the tempo up, and we call them hold downs now. They're to complement square dancing. But we'll try and break these up a little bit to give you an example of it. So we'll start off with a reel that, if you were in the British Isles right now, they call it Lord MacDonald's reel, but in the United States, and especially in this country, we call it leather britches. these tunes from what we call traditional fiddling, which is, of course, these two. We could go back 200 years, and many of the tunes we could play for you here today. We could spend 2 hours playing tunes that people in the Revolutionary War would recognize the tune. The name might have changed, but the tune would still be the same. But we've sped them up, of course, and everything. But I was going to say something else, forgot what it is, but we'll just go ahead. Now we'll go to, what are we going to go? Hornpipe. What do we usually play? We like
Fishers.
Yeah. We'll play another. This is something about the names of these tunes, too. There's no rhyme or reason to a lot of them. Now, this is called Fisher's Hornpipe, and originally it's with an AR. And the reason for that, and many of these tunes, the first time this tune was written down and noted in musical calligraphy, was in a book on cotillions, reels, and something else by a man named Fisher in Philadelphia in 1780. So a lot of these tunes, that's the first maybe positive identification we have of a particular tune. And they would name these, it had no name, so they called it Fisher's Hornpipe because it had Fisher's book. We'll play this as a go ahead.
One thing to remember about all this, just keep in mind it is all done for dancing. It's something that necessarily got a foot-patting rhythm to it. That's what you want to do when you hear one, is to pat your foot to it, which is a very basic thing for people. A 6-month-old baby, I remember one time I played at a place and a woman had a baby who was 6 months old. He didn't know what he's doing, of course, but he did something all the time rhythmically to it. You know, it's a sort of an inborn thing, and you never fail to be interested in rhythm of a marching band. It always stirs you up. It always makes you feel good, and that's what fiddling is about. It's because somebody wanted to dance. Of course, there's been some changes in it, partly based on religion. A lot of people think it's wicked to dance. It's not wicked to dance. It's just wicked not to feel the rhythm. That's what I think.
It's also the basic definition for traditional music, fiddle music, is that it's dance music. That's what.
Now this is Fisher's Hornpipe.
Hornpipe type of tune. Let's play Bill and the Lowground while we're in Hornpipe. This is one that, here's another one with a story behind it. I heard a woman tell me one time that this was named, Billy and the Lowground was named after the William clan that came over, and part of them went to the mountains and part went on the low part, and so they called the ones that lived down low Billy of the Lowground or something. I don't know. There's also, I'm sure that's true.
This got a minor strain to it. It's sort of a lonesome type tune in a way, but we like to play it.
16th, 17th, or 17th and 18th century tunes as far, and of course go back further than that, but like I said, this is the first time they have mentioned them when they started writing music down and started coming out with printing books and everything. So that's kind of what we'll go by. We know these tunes go way back beyond that. We'll play you one now that's really probably started as a slow march or a slow air that was strictly a bagpipe tune called The Flowers of Edinburgh. And it's still played quite a bit in this country. And of course these tunes too, we can sit down with French fiddlers or of course naturally the British Isles, or the fiddle's very popular in Europe, especially in Sweden and Denmark and Norway. And these tunes are all familiar all over Western civilization. And Japan now.
This is, I think, the oldest tune I know. And I know it's been played in 4 generations of my family. It's been handed right on down. And it's pretty much the way I heard it from an uncle, which was the next generation back.
Types of tunes and the variety to traditional fiddling. That's why traditional fiddling is, in this part of the country, is still extremely popular. There are literally hundreds of fiddlers in southern Missouri and north Arkansas. I mean, of varying degrees of skill, but the fiddle is still the main folk instrument in the Ozarks and in northeast Oklahoma the same way. How many people here had fiddlers in their family? There's always 1 or 2 hands go up. Yeah, there's one up there. Now, you get somewhere down in the hills and every hand in the audience will go up. You had a fiddler?
Well, no, but let me stop you for a minute because Janelle Dusenberry has a guest with her today. And Janelle, introduce your daughter and explain why she's here.
Well, this is my daughter, Jessica. Many of you met her on our walk. She's getting ready to go study under 6 master fiddlers in Bethel.
Oh, you're going to Belleville?
So she has a special.
He's been to Bethel. He's been to Bethel.
Well, that doesn't
I've
surprise
heard
me.
that
What do you know? I will talk about this. I didn't know. Now we have a late fiddler. I didn't know that. Bethel is North Missouri. For those of you that are not familiar with it, and I wasn't either until a few years ago. It's up by Hannibal, and it's an old German settlement. And it's a state facility now because it's all the buildings and everything have been preserved. And so every year the National Council of the Arts, the Missouri Arts Council, and the Missouri Cultural Heritage at the University of Missouri put on a camp for aspiring young traditional fiddlers, young people like this one right here. And then they bring in some old master fiddlers from around the area to teach these children. It lasts 4 days or 5 days, 5 days. and I go up as one of the guitar players. I wouldn't be there all this time, and I wasn't able to do it. But it's really, that's one thing that's encouraging to me in this state is they really are trying in some way to preserve the thing. Even now, this is the Missouri Council of the Arts, which you always think of as promoting only the performing arts, which is the ballet, the symphony, the opera, and the theater. But they also work with the traditional arts too, which is giving it a lot more balance to the thing. Now, off of that, so you refer to me here. Where were we? Flowers of Edinburgh. Let's play another dance they had that came from France and gave us the word country dance and everything was the contra dance. And one of those contra dances was a cotillion. Now, all these tunes we play, I can go down here in the hills and find the worst old plug fiddler you've ever heard. But if he's played the fiddle very long, he'll play at least one of all these tunes we're playing. He'll know a cotillion, he'll know a Schottische. We'll get to Schottische in a minute, we'll get to a jig in a minute. And that's typical of traditional fiddling. When we sit down at night, if we sat here and played those hornpipes in about 20 minutes, I'd be bored because there's what they call the hornpipe go-around on a guitar, which there's much to it. But they vary. We'll switch into waltzes and all these different kinds. We can play maybe 50 tunes in a night, and they'll all be really different than just sitting and playing the same tempo all night. So we're cotillion A and D.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now this is a cotillion is what is ordinarily known as a line dance. You've seen the type of thing in gym classes, the type of thing where the girls line up in one row and the boys in the other. They start at the end and they do an elbow swing and they do a right and a left type thing, and it goes clear on down the line, and they all do it. That's so that everybody in the house can dance, you know. But this is one of those too.
Two of the strings to the same note. I have two Ds or something like it. And then it's a little simpler anyway because you're just playing the melody on two of the strings. But what that was exactly was a copy of the bagpipe. And cross tuning was what a lot of old timers played. The cross tune, it's just too much trouble to tune it now. It'd be interesting to actually hear one of those sometime. Well, we'll get out of the 1700s. We'll come up into the 1800s. Of course, as this country grew and as other immigrants were coming in, and a lot say because of the blacks that were in the country, you had your music beginning to change. And in the first of the 19th century, you had the minstrel shows emerge. And with that came a more jazzier type of music or up-tempo type of music, a different type of dance music. And we're going to play you a couple of tunes. One of them, I wouldn't even have to name it, and you'd know it, and yet it was copyrighted and written in 1836. And called Buffalo Gals, which I imagine every one of you are familiar with. And we'll throw another one in that was really not written until about the 1880s or so, called Golden Slippers. But these are typical of this type of music. 160, almost 160 years old, and 100, yet everybody here recognizes him. And yet 90% of the fiddlers I still know, other than the young ones, don't read any music. This has all been oral. It's all come from generation to generation without any written music to go by. They've been transcribed now, but most fiddlers don't pay attention to that. They get in the way. You know, old timers called them readers. Readers never made good square dance fiddlers because they said they're too stiff. Go ahead. What were you going to say there?
I was going to say play a Schottish.
Yeah, okay. That's an interesting tune. The Schottische was of course, in Scotland. It started in Scotland, and then kind of faded out there. But about the time it was fading out in Scotland, why it got the French and Germans and all those people got interested in it. Of course, when the Germans got interested in it, Schottische is German for Scottish, so they called it the Schottische. And then it came back to the British Isles again, and to this country. And for some reason, they didn't change the name back, so we still call it Schottische. I'm going to play you one. Here's another something about these names. This is called Doc Jessup Schottische. Now, Doc Jessup was a doctor in the little town of Crane, Missouri, which is over here about 30 miles or so. And he played it, and so that's what they called it. Nobody knows what the name really is. How many here are Schottische? Anybody here? Yeah. You know, we've lost it. It's a pretty dance. It's too bad. Yeah, I left the 1700s too quick. That's what I said. I needed my program here. We forgot the jigs. Now, of course, the Irish jig is a 6/8 time type of dance. Now, we do jig dancing in the Ozarks, not clogging. The present-day definition of these words, clogging is a different dance than jig dancing. Clogging is almost a chorus line type of thing, where everybody learns the same step. If you were ever here to go to any of these square dances, like you were going with me tomorrow night over to Edinburgh, Missouri, where they're having their poke salad days, you'll see what I'm talking about, jig dances. It's come from Irish jig dancing, but it's like everything in the Ozarks, developed its own style because of the individualism these people had. They were so isolated. All fiddlers have their own style of playing. You don't ever play a fiddle tune exactly like so-and-so plays it, or they say you're putting yourself down. It's purely an individualistic thing. But we're going to play you an Irish 6/8 time tune. Now, really, the best second for this music, came in later, and you get up in Canada and Cape Breton, and it's the piano. Because now, where I just hit one every beat, they're rolling those jigs and those minstrel tunes and everything.
Let's play both of them.
I'll play
Over the river, over the waters of Charlie's.
Over the Charlie's and
Irish Washerwoman.
Yeah. temple, wasn't it? They danced to the hoedown type of temple. Then we'll get back into the 1800s now. I kind of skipped a few there. Just before the Civil War, there was a dance, of course, that had developed and come about in Europe, especially Austria and everything, was the waltz. And it was just coming into the South with the genteel people down in there about the time the Civil War started. And then after the war, of course, it spread on around and became a very popular, still is a very popular dance. A very particular tempo it has all its own. And there's a waltz played in, it's not that uncommon, but you don't hear it too much, but in this country it's played quite a bit, called Seamus O'Brien. What we always considered really a beautiful old Irish waltz. And we were where were we? Wolf Trap. And there was a bunch of Irish fiddlers there from Ireland. And we thought, well, we'll just show out for them. We'll play undoubtedly their favorite waltz and see how they like it. You know, when we played it, and they said, what's that? And we said, that's Seamus O'Brien. Never heard of it. In fact, they had us make a tape so they could take it back. Well, then I found out later from a folklorist over here at Mountain View, Arkansas, that it was written by a guy named George Washington Hayes, who lived in Cincinnati in 1867. But he undoubtedly has taken an Irish melody, though, and it has beautiful words to it, really pretty words. There's a girl who used to be over here in Silver Dollar City that, she's at Shepherd of the Hills now, Kim Lansford, that sings the words to it, really. Then of course,
Dixie Blossom.
Yeah, when this jazzy type, minstrel type of music evolved more and more, and people moved westward with more permanent settlements, and you had a lot of music halls come up around the country. And we're going to play a tune from what we just call music hall tunes, which is really a forerunner of Tin Pan Alley and Ragtime. And this one is one of the later ones. It was written by a guy named Percy Winrick. Now, Percy Winrick wrote On Moonlight. five strings here. We haven't really played a lot for a while.
That one ragtime?
Huh?
That one
No,
ragtime?
they don't consider it so. We're getting kind of gray areas now. Also, we may be playing at a little different tempo than they played it back in 1880 or so, too. See, these things, of course, change, you know. I mean, you complement what your dancers want and what the audiences want over a period of time. So we're not playing like they did in the 1700s. That's for sure, you know. But the basic melody is the same. But I'm sure the tempo has changed. But now, all important to this old-time fiddling, the fiddle contest is still a big thing in most of the country, especially in this part of the country. And one thing our judges all the time, one thing you're judged on is time. And what we're playing these today is pretty much the accepted time at this time. Like I was talking about jig dancing and clogging. At one time, I've seen the old-time jig dancing referred to as clogging, say 100 years ago. But now it's got a different meaning nowadays, you know. So you have to kind of update things as to how you're going to define them. Now, let's go to a rag. This is going to get a little different tempo that maybe we can hear more than you can if you haven't heard this a lot. We're going to play one that Bob Wills made it popular, but it was really first done by an East Texas fiddler. Now, you get in East Texas and they play more like we do. You start moving over a little bit in Texas and Oklahoma, you get what they call Texas style type of fiddling, which is really a different style. If we had one here, you're going to have one of the best ones at Bethel, which is Herman Johnson from Shawnee, Oklahoma. But we'll play one here called the Beaumont Rag, which is, you're going to say that sounds the same as the last one.
They both sounded the same to me.
Well, you just be quiet for now. You're running my lecture. Always get somebody that's paying attention in the crowd. But we've taken these and we've probably blended a lot of them now, you know, to what we've heard and what we as defined in this area as such and such. You know. Now, if you went over to 80 miles west of here into Oklahoma, you'd hear that played at a little different tempo than we're playing it. And the seconding would be different. It'd be more of a chomp type thing. I'm typical of Ozarks seconds. I'm what they call a crowfoot second. 3 fingers make about every chord you're going to make. And you notice my guitar is only worn off right about here. Yeah. So I never get ready to go. But you get for some of these Texas, and they'll be bar coding, and they'll work their way. Every tap of the foot is a different position. Now, if you hear one that can do it good, it really sounds good. But most of it's just whamming the bass string and just a slop on the rest of the strings, you know. But when you hear one that can do it good, it's really a pleasure to listen to. Where were we? We left off at
Popular tunes.
Popular tunes. Well, we need to get to Texas style, don't we? What are we leaving out? Something? Oh, well, we'll come back and get it later. Oh, well, okay, let's just go on into, we'll play a Texas style.
All right.
Ozark style. Now, Texas, that doesn't sound like Texas
Now, you know
style.
what this is when you...
Oh, you know, okay, that's right. blues in the Ozarks, and it has nothing to do with black blues. It's a different type of music altogether, and it's what I always call honky-tonk music. I always envision some truck driver with a beer and a gal in the dance hall somewhere doing that old two-step where it looked like they were pumping oil, you know, like I used to dance when I was in high school. But there's a whole variety of these tunes, and we'll play, what is it, Carol County, what do we know?
Rabbit's Foot Blues.
You'll see the tempo here.
Still a 12-bar blues.
Huh?
Still a 12-bar blues.
Is that what it is? Same thing?
Same as
Well, it's called Carroll County too.
a 12-bar blues.
Yeah. Oh well, we just leave.
That's right.
Among friends, it's all right. Oh, we left out one here. It'll sound alike to you, I'm sure, but we'll go ahead and throw it in anyway. See, I got somebody calling me on these things. That makes it rough now. Now we get up into the thing that's familiar to all of us is First World War and the 20s and everything. We'll play you some of this 5 foot 2 Eyes of Blue, which all fiddlers still play one or more of these tunes. We'll play you one here called Me Too. We'll throw another one in on the tail end of it too. That's where we usually end our formal part of the concert. Then we'll go to an open thing where they request or we play what we want to play, and if we don't know it, we'll just play what we want to play anyway. If anybody, when you want to let anybody needs to stretch their feet or anything, go anywhere. If any of you have to, go ahead and...
What do you say?
I would like for you to play Arkansas Traveler hoedown style for these people.
All right.
we'll play it. The only way to play it, whatever. Who had the fiddlers in their family? You remember any of the tunes they played?
Turkey in the straw.
Okay.
Turkey and straw. All right.
Here, I will educate you a little more here, just to show you how these tunes move on. We're going to start off with one here. You've ruined my punchline by asking for it now. I don't get to lead into it like I would before. We'll play you one called Old Zip Coon. Now, this was written in the 1830s, and Old Zip Coon was a Davy Crockett type of character in early frontier literature, which had its own classification and everything of all those types of the Davy Crockett type tunes. And we'll play you first, let's see, is that in G?
Yeah.
We'll play Old Zip Coon first. This is 1830s.
Now you'll see how it leads into another tune in a minute. Late 1840s, we'll play one called Natchez Under the Hill, which was the bawdy section of Natchez, Mississippi, is where it's named after. This is called Natchez Under the Hill. It's in a different key. Now, here's the last one. Here's
1867 now.
Really, Turkey and Straw. The old-time fiddlers,
the thing that's really changed modern music, we've got a lot of young fiddlers coming on now, and guitar players and everything, but a fellow might go somewhere from his isolated little holler somewhere here, and he'd hear a tune somewhere. Maybe he'd hear 2 tunes. So by the time he got back home, he'd have half of the first one mixed up with the second one, and maybe mix them up with one he already knew. So you've got a whole host of tunes that sound almost like so-and-so, but not quite. But that's why that is. And then when the tape recorder came along, that has changed the whole thing. And that's why you have some of these young fiddlers that are, we got the best musicians that we've ever had as far as this traditional music goes. I had a hand raised. Yes.
Yeah.
Devil's Dream?
Yeah, Devil's Dream. This is part of the fiddler's. We did, well, we played that one.
We'll do it again.
Buffalo, yeah, we can play it again.
We'll do it again. Played that too, just too hard.
Second 16 bars. You Red Wing?
Red Wing, all right,
Red Wing. Let
Red
me tell
Wing.
them a story here quickly. These are things in life that shake you up. Last year I got a phone call from a young college girl at SMS up there, and she said, Mr. McCann, I hear you know all about songs. Well, I don't know all about songs, but she said, I'm doing a paper on early American music, and she said, I've got 2 titles. She said, I just can't find anything out about them. She said, I can tell they're old and obscure tunes. And I said, I thought it would be an old ballad or something. So I said, well, go ahead. What is it? Maybe I might know something. She said, well, this first one is the most unusual title. She said, I know it's just so old you won't know anything about it. It's called Don't Fence Me In. The other tune was Red Wings, the reason I was expecting. But I told her, I said, old and obscure. I said, my Lord. Well, I went back. She hadn't looked. My Lord, that was 19. I found the sheet music on it. Stage Door Canteen was the movie during the war.
In the 40s.
In the 1941 to 42,
Yeah.
44, something like that. But I thought, old and obscure, my gosh. Red Wing.
Here's Red Wing. Now, this is a tune that came out on clear piano rolls around World War I, and everybody with gray hair has heard it sometime.
Or hair, maybe.
Or
losing their hair. seeing this crowd, but you never know what's going to happen in the crowd. We were on stage somewhere, and I could see, by the lights, I could see about the first 2 rows, and we played Missouri Waltz. And I noticed the man about in the second row. We started playing, and I could see his eyes were just starting to water, and the next thing you know, tears were running down, and about halfway through, the guy just had his head in his hands, just shaking his head and just sobbing. It was bothering the people around him. And after it was over with, we were out in the lobby, and I saw this man. I went up to him, and I said, sir, pardon me, but I said, I noticed when we played Missouri Waltz, we were way off somewhere. I said, I noticed you really became emotionally involved. And I said, are you a Missourian? And he said, no, I'm a musician. Something's been left out of it nowadays. Probably a lot of you have heard it, but maybe some of you. There's a second part to Missouri Waltz. That's usually all you hear is there. I was getting ready to boot him one because he didn't go into it. Let's play that second part for you. It's really pretty. It's pretty. Just play the thing once. Play it all the way through. because of time or fiddle contest, as far as fiddlers go playing it, left that part out because it made it too long. And then there was a fiddler from Humansville, Missouri, which is north here about 60 miles, that was out in California and made a record. He died before it was even issued, of fiddle tunes, and it came back here, and that's really what got that second part kind of started again. Fiddlers started hearing it and forgotten about that part. Let's see, what's our time on all this now? We can only go about another 4 or 5 hours.
Play a gospel song like I'll Fly Away.
Yeah, we don't play too many songs per se, because what we'd end up doing, well, we could do the notes, but it wouldn't have any body to it, you know.
I'll give you one.
Yeah, let's play.
Sweet by and by.
Sweet by and by. G. Every area has local tunes that are popular only in one particular area, and you just won't hear it anywhere. Well, nowadays you might because of this tape recorder and recordings. Play one called McCraw's Ford. Now, McCraw Ford is out east of Springfield on the James River. It's where your farm still is. And we'll play you a tune out there called McCraw's Ford. No telling what the original name of it is. Here's another different tempo tune called Sail Away Ladies, which is an old Uncle Dave Macon tune, but it's got variations all over the place, but it's basically the same.
The way you want to end it, or what?
How about maybe 3 or 4 more minutes?
All right. Okay.
Play down home waltz. We like to play waltzes. We can't play too many, or we'll all get drowsy, and you'd all go to sleep too. But we'd rather play waltzes. it's an old tune though. It's an, I don't know where you hear the bagpipe in it, but it's an old bagpipe tune. It's called Blackberry Blossom.
Up with one tune. Now this one we usually wind up every program with, and it's something that you'll all remember, and I think it's pretty waltz called "The Waltz You Saved for Me." Thank you very much.